The story begins at Casa del Toro in the Spanish countryside, the home of Ferdinand, a calf who is a gentle soul unlike any other. While the rest of his species lock horns in feuds of strength, aspiring to be adult fighting bulls, Ferdinand is completely peaceful. He refuses to fight, preferring to spend his time smelling flowers and talking to plants. One day, Ferdinand is watering a lone flower that has grown in the center of the arena when the winner's truck arrives, sending the other calves into a frenzy of excitement. Unsure of what is happening, Ferdinand asks about the vehicle. Valiente explains that this truck takes the strongest bull away to become a star. Dreaming of glory, the calves begin to argue over who will become the champion of Casa del Toro. However, during the dispute, Valiente knocks down Bones, who nearly steps on the arena flower, leaving Ferdinand panicked. Realizing the little bull cares more about the plant than fighting, Valiente threatens to crush the flower to force a confrontation. Ferdinand refuses to engage, instead shielding the flower with his own body. Just then, the matador finally arrives at the observatory, and the adult bulls enter the arena to audition. Ferdinand's father and Valiente's father vie against each other. After a fierce display, the matador chooses Ferdinand's father. Before leaving, the calf approaches his father, asking if something is wrong with him for not wanting to fight. His father tries to reassure him, promising that when he grows up, he will be the biggest bull the arena has ever seen. Saddened that even his father doesn't understand him, Ferdinand says goodbye and heads back to the stable. On the way, he sees Valiente spitefully crushing his flower before walking away. Ferdinand spends days waiting for his father to return as a champion. One night, while an employee cleans the stable, Ferdinand hears the winner's truck return. He rushes to the entrance expecting to see his father, but finds the vehicle completely empty. Realizing his father has been defeated, Ferdinand stands there in mourning. When the cleaner spots him and tries to herd him back, Ferdinand panics. He bolts out the door and flees Casa del Toro, chased by the employees. Knowing this is his only chance for a different life, he runs across the tracks and jumps into a moving train carriage. After hours of travel, the train stops, and Ferdinand disembarks. Lost, the little calf wanders through a forest until he hears a dog barking. He tries to escape but gets trapped and slips down a ravine, knocking himself out. The next morning, he wakes up to find a little girl named Nina visiting him in the barn. Initially afraid, Ferdinand relaxes when he sees that she also loves flowers, deciding to trust her. Together with Nina, Ferdinand leaves the barn to explore the farm, smelling every flower along the way. In this floral paradise, Ferdinand spends his days playing with Nina and helping her father, Juan, with farm chores. Years pass, and he grows into a colossal bull, yet he continues to live with the family as a normal pet. Now an adult, Ferdinand helps the farm produce flowers for the upcoming spring festival. However, when the big day arrives, Juan tells Nina that Ferdinand cannot go because he is simply too big. Upset that her father won't take him, Nina refuses to go but is eventually convinced by Juan, who suggests taking Paco, the family dog, instead. After they leave, Ferdinand stands on a hill, debating whether to disobey Juan. After some indecision, he decides to go to the flower festival, a classic Spanish spring event. Arriving at the festival, the massive bull begins sniffing flowers while looking for Nina, terrifying everyone who sees him. Ferdinand finally spots Nina and heads toward her, but he gets his head caught in clothes hanging from a line. While trying to free himself, the clumsy bull falls, landing his buttocks directly on a bee sting. Blinded by the clothes and in extreme pain, Ferdinand runs wildly through the festival, causing mass panic. In the confusion, he crashes through a balloon stand, and a baby gets stuck on his horn. Finding it amusing, the baby pulls the cloth from Ferdinand's eyes. The bull realizes he is charging toward a car and tries to brake, but he slides and hits the vehicle, launching the baby into the air. Ferdinand frantically catches the baby, saving him from hitting the ground. Ferdinand calms down, but the chaos has convinced the crowd he is aggressive. Animal control is called to capture him. Paco the dog urges Ferdinand to run back to the farm while he creates a distraction, but the humans ignore the dog and chase the bull. Ferdinand flees through alleys and ducks into a house to hide. Unfortunately, the house is essentially a museum of fragile ceramic plates. Despite his colossal size, Ferdinand tries to move delicately. As he tries to steady a stack of ceramics, the old woman who owns the shop mistakes his tail for a feather duster. She pulls him around while cleaning, but eventually tickles his nose, causing a massive sneeze that blows the lady out the window and reveals his location. Cornered, Ferdinand is arrested and loaded into a transport truck bound for Casa del Toro. Nina arrives just as he is being taken away, begging the officers to release him, but they ignore her tears and drive off. After staying awake all day, Ferdinand arrives at Casa del Toro at night. Seeing the familiar statues, he recognizes the place and panics, getting his horns stuck in a railing. Mr. Moreno, the owner, asks his staff to bring a comfort goat to calm the beast. A frantic goat named Lupe is tossed into the truck. She talks non-stop, only agitating Ferdinand further. He eventually frees his horns and rolls out of the truck, crushing the goat. Ferdinand helps Lupe up and asks for help, but the crazy goat assumes he wants coaching and starts analyzing his physique. Excited, Lupe leads him into the arena to introduce her new student. The other bulls immediately recognize Ferdinand. While they are impressed by his size, Valiente appears and tries to intimidate him, just like when they were calves. Ferdinand ignores the provocation and refuses to fight. Lupe takes Ferdinand to the stable where they sleep until 3 hedgehogs break in to steal food. Lupe wakes up and insults the hedgehogs, sparking a species war. To stop the chaos, Ferdinand holds Lupe back and helps the hedgehogs reach the window with his food. Ferdinand decides he must return home. He walks to the electric fence, but trying to cross it results in a shock that nearly fries his brain. 3 horses appear and laugh at him. Ferdinand asks for help crossing the fence, but the horses mock him, threatening to alert the humans if he tries again. The next morning, Lupe hears humans discussing the arrival of El Primero, a legendary matador. She rushes to wake the bulls with the news but accidentally steps on Ferdinand's tail, getting kicked into a wall. Mr. Moreno welcomes El Primero, who explains he is there to choose the best bull for his final fight. The bulls are prepared in the arena. Ferdinand refuses to enter, blocking the tunnel. Valiente kicks him from behind, forcing him out. The bulls start fighting to impress the matador, but a lab-created bull named Maquina chases an employee. Valiente headbutts Ferdinand, trying to goad him into a fight, but Guapo intervenes, knocking Valiente out. Valiente recovers and challenges Guapo to show his potential. Guapo cracks under pressure and faints. Worried, Ferdinand rushes to check on him but accidentally deflects Maquina into a wall. El Primero, unimpressed, cancels the bullfight, claiming these animals are useless. Mr. Moreno begs for another chance, and El Primero agrees, warning that if he doesn't find a champion, he will ruin Casa del Toro's reputation. Later, the bulls blame Ferdinand for embarrassing them. They hear Guapo cheering outside. He thinks he has been chosen. However, Bones realizes the truck taking Guapo is not the winner's truck, but the transport to the slaughterhouse. That night, Ferdinand comforts Bones, who is grieving for Guapo. The next day, El Primero watches the bulls train. Ferdinand is distracted, thinking of Guapo. He notices a bunny in front of a barrel Angus is charging toward. Ferdinand intercepts Angus to save the rabbit, who faints from fright. Ferdinand revives the rabbit, but Lupe scolds him for not focusing. She tells him to view fighting as a dance. The arrogant horses return and mock the idea of bulls dancing. Determined to prove them wrong, Ferdinand approaches the fence and performs a supreme tap dance. The horses respond with a team routine. Angus joins in, asking Lupe to regurgitate his harmonica. The horses form a heart shape with their bodies. The hedgehogs activate the electric fence music, and Bones joins with breakdancing. Finally, Maquina challenges the lead horse to a duel. The bulls win the dance battle easily, and the humiliated horses fight amongst themselves, crashing into the electric fence. During the celebration, Valiente reminds everyone that bulls who don't fight go to the slaughterhouse. Ferdinand argues that outside the ranch, they can be free. Valiente retorts that if Ferdinand were truly free, he wouldn't be back here. Influenced by Valiente, the other bulls return to training, leaving Ferdinand alone with Lupe. Ferdinand decides to escape that night and take Lupe to meet Nina. He asks the hedgehogs for help. They reveal the only exit is through the house. Ferdinand jumps through a window into the garage but falls on El Primero's car, setting off the alarm. The hedgehogs dance to distract the investigating humans. Sneaking through the house, Ferdinand finds a photo of his father on the wall, mounted with his horns. Looking up, he sees dozens of horns, realizing the arena is a death sentence for all bulls. He returns to the stable to warn his friends, but Valiente refuses to believe him, pushing Ferdinand into the mud and challenging him. Ferdinand refuses to fight until Valiente breaks his horn. El Primero, watching from the balcony, selects Ferdinand as his opponent for Madrid. Mr. Moreno orders Valiente to be taken to the slaughterhouse. Panic sets in, but Ferdinand refuses to leave without everyone, including Valiente. The hedgehogs trap the snitching horses in the stable. Makina bites through the high-tension fence wire to cut the power. Ferdinand runs to the slaughterhouse to save Valiente. He finds him defeated in a pen. Valiente refuses to leave, accepting his fate, but Ferdinand hears Guapo calling for help. He runs to save Guapo but triggers the infrared sensors, activating the lethal machinery. Valiente has a change of heart and jams the gears with an iron bar, saving Guapo. However, a hook grabs them, and all three are dropped onto a conveyor belt toward a massive grinder. They narrowly escape, slide through an ice machine, and are ejected into a garbage bin outside. The bulls crash down the hill into the winner's truck, waking the humans. To escape, Lupe and the hedgehogs take the wheel while the bulls pile into the back. As they speed through the gate, the rabbit faints in front of the truck again. Ferdinand scoops him up. Makina uses his electrified body as a defibrillator to wake the rabbit. They arrive in Madrid but get stuck in traffic. The employees catch up to them. Ferdinand leads the group to the train station on foot, running along the tracks. They discover the train has already departed. The bulls push a manual handcar to catch the train. Realizing the humans are still pursuing them, Ferdinand forces his friends onto the train and sacrifices himself to block the humans. He is captured. Ferdinand is taken to the Madrid arena. Juan sees the news on TV and rushes to Madrid with Nina to save him. In the arena, a woman throws a flower to El Primero, but he disdainfully tosses it aside. The gates open, releasing Ferdinand. He enters calmly. El Primero tries to provoke a charge, but Ferdinand sits down. The matador orders his men to go at the animal with spears. Ferdinand dodges them, running around the arena without attacking. During the chaos, El Primero's cape gets snagged on Ferdinand's horn, blinding the bull. Ferdinand thrashes around, and El Primero tries to retrieve his cape but is flung onto Ferdinand's back. Ferdinand accidentally knocks the matador out of the ring, humiliating him. Furious, El Primero returns with 2 spears, ready to kill. He attacks, but Ferdinand dodges again. Finally, the matador strikes Ferdinand, cutting him. Enraged, Ferdinand pins El Primero down, ready to crush him. However, he sees the crushed flower on the sand and remembers who he is. He calms down and releases the matador. El Primero draws his sword for the final blow. Ferdinand sits, exposing his chest, refusing to fight back. The crowd, moved by the bull's nature, begins chanting for El Primero to let the bull live. Defeated by the crowd's will, the matador lowers his sword, salutes Ferdinand, and leaves. Nina rushes into the arena and embraces Ferdinand as the crowd throws flowers. The other bulls arrive to help but realize the battle is already won. In the end, Mr. Moreno surrenders custody, and Lupe, Ferdinand, and all the bulls go to live happily on the farm with Nina. The story ends here.
Please like and subscribe.